My name is Daniel Harper, and for most of my life, I believed I understood my father. He was a quiet man, a hard-working man, the kind of man who fixed broken fences before sunrise and never complained about the cold. But every year, without fail, he would disappear for 3 months. When I was a boy, I never questioned it. He always returned before winter. He always brought small gifts. A carved wooden toy. A pocket knife. Once, he brought me a compass I'd kept for years. Whenever I asked where he'd been, he gave the same answer. Taking care of unfinished business. As a child, that explanation was enough. As a man, I realized I had never truly known what it meant. And now, sitting beside the fireplace with my newborn daughter sleeping upstairs and my newly discovered brother across from me, I was finally about to find out. The storm outside had begun to calm. Snow still drifted against the windows, but the fierce winds had faded into silence. Samuel stared into the fire for several moments before speaking. Our father disappeared from your life for 3 months every year because he spent that time with my mother. I felt my chest tighten. Even though part of me had expected the answer, hearing it aloud still hurt. He left us every year. Samuel nodded slowly. He left both of us. I frowned. What do you mean? A sad smile crossed his face. He was never really part of my life either. Samuel leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. When I was a child, he visited us once every year. Only once. He'd stay for a few weeks, sometimes a month, sometimes longer. My stomach sank. The timing matched perfectly. The 3 months. Every year. All those childhood memories suddenly looked different. He loved my mother, Samuel continued quietly. At least, I think he did. Then why didn't he stay? Samuel shook his head. I asked him that many times. And he always said he made a promise he couldn't break. I looked toward the staircase where Sarah and Hope slept. A promise. My father had chosen one family over another. No matter his reasons, someone was always left behind. Samuel reached into his satchel again. This time, he pulled out a folded map. Its edges were worn and faded with age. Our father gave this to my mother before his final visit. He spread it across the table. A red mark circled a location high in the mountains west of our valley. What is it? A cabin. I looked up. What kind of cabin? Samuel met my eyes. The place he stayed during those 3 months every year. A strange silence filled the room. For years, I'd assumed my father traveled for work. That he disappeared because he had responsibilities elsewhere. But he'd been living in a hidden cabin. Keeping secrets. Living 2 different lives. Why didn't your mother tell you about it sooner? I asked. Samuel stared at the map. Because she promised him she wouldn't. What changed? She died. The words hung heavily between us. Before she passed, she told me to find the cabin. Did you? Not exactly. I frowned. What does that mean? His expression darkened. I found the trail. And I couldn't finish the journey alone. The fire crackled softly. Outside, the storm finally began to break. Moonlight reflected off the snow-covered fields beyond our windows. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then Samuel looked at me. I think our father left something there. What kind of something? I don't know. He shook his head. I think he left the truth. The next morning, Sarah listened quietly as we explained everything. She sat beside the kitchen window with Hope sleeping peacefully in her arms. When we finished, she looked at me. You want to go? It wasn't. I nodded. I need to know. She smiled gently. I know. Samuel shifted uncomfortably. You don't have to come. I looked at him. You're my brother. The words still felt strange. But they also felt right. We do this together. For the first time since arriving, Samuel smiled. A real smile. One filled with relief. 3 days later, the storm finally cleared. Walter Briggs helped us prepare supplies. Extra blankets. Food. Lanterns. 2 horses. The trail into the mountains wouldn't be easy. Fresh snow covered everything. And according to Walter, few people had traveled that route in years. Before leaving, I kissed Sarah goodbye. She placed hope in my arms. Our daughter opened her eyes briefly before falling back asleep. I held her close. For a moment, I considered staying home, leaving the past buried. But Sarah seemed to read my thoughts. Go find your answers. I looked at her. What if I don't like what I find? She smiled softly. Then come home. Samuel and I left at sunrise. The valley disappeared behind us as we climbed into the mountains. 4 hours, we rode in silence. The only sounds were the crunch of snow beneath our horses and the wind moving through the pine trees. Finally, Samuel spoke. What was he like? I thought for a moment. Quiet. Samuel laughed softly. Same with me. He taught me how to build things. He taught me how to fish. We exchanged stories for miles. Small memories. Simple moments. For the first time, our father felt less like a mystery and more like a man. A flawed man. But still a man. As afternoon faded into evening, Samuel stopped his horse. He pointed ahead. Through the trees, I saw it. A small cabin. Hidden beneath a blanket of snow. Untouched by time. Untouched by the world. My heart pounded. For years, this place had existed in secret. Now we stood only a few yards away. The wooden structure looked old but sturdy. Smoke no longer rose from a chimney. Snow covered the roof. The front door remained closed. Waiting. Almost as if it had been expecting us. Samuel looked at me. Ready? I wasn't. But I nodded anyway. Together, we stepped toward the cabin. I reached for the weathered door handle. And slowly pushed it open. Inside, hidden beneath decades of dust and silence, waited the truth about our father. To be continued.